Hi there, I'm Mariana Williams, and this is my audition tape to hopefully be one of the selected ones for TIMFest 17. My true story is, of course, about the library, and here it is. I was driving home from work one night listening to talk radio, and there's a popular show at the time called Mr. KFI, and callers would call in and ask him questions on any number of subjects. So they would say, Mr. KFI, how long is my car battery supposed to last? Or what is the best seasoning for jambalaya? You know, very unrelated questions, and he always had an answer. So I'm halfway listening when a caller calls in, and a man's voice says, Mr. KFI, I have a problem. I'm a 5th grade teacher in Inglewood, which is a district that's in Los Angeles, a neighborhood in Los Angeles, kind of underserved, shall we say. And our school, K through 6, doesn't have a library. And I feel really bad about it. I feel bad for the kids that we don't have a library. Every school should have a library. And I'm driving along, and Mr. KFI says, in all his wisdom, you don't need a library. What do you need a library for? You know, everything's on computer these days. And the man says, well, the kids have to do book reports, and they have to check out a book in 4th grade, a biography or what. Hey, their mom can take them to the library if they need to go to the library. You know, everything's on computer. Libraries are out of date. Oh my gosh, I'm driving along. I'm furious. I'm like gripping the steering wheel, shouting at the radio, just like you do when you hear things you don't like on the radio. And Mr. KFI is a jerk. And I couldn't get the conversation out of my mind. And I get home and I'm thinking about it, and only thing I know is he's a 5th grade teacher in the Inglewood School District, and they don't have a library. So I set a goal to find out what school that was and talk to that teacher. And I, called around. There's 13 elementary schools in that district, and finally found the one that had a 5th grade male teacher. Got him on the phone, took a long time, and I asked him, could I bring some books over to your classroom? I really appreciated what you said to Mr. KFI, and he's a jerk, and my kids have a bunch of books, and I can round up some, and I'd like to bring them to your classroom. He said fine. So I have books, I just pull them off my kids' floors. And then across the street, my neighbor Janet is LDS, and she's got 9 kids. I know she's good for some books. Next door to her is my sister Diane. She's Catholic. She's got 7 kids. She's good for some books. Me, I only have 2 kids, so my dad calls me an underachiever. But I round up these boxes of books, and I take them over to the Inglewood area. And I find out this school, the Warren Lane School in Inglewood, is really in a nice area, and it is not a ghetto. It's well-kept neighborhoods. The yards look nice. The kids are wearing school uniforms. Everybody's black. I come out on the playground with my box of books on a wheelie thing and meet Mr. Patterson. He introduces me to the class, and I take out these books, and the kids go crazy. I could not believe how happy they were. And they're like grabbing books, and and the teacher's trying to establish order in the classroom, and they were so thrilled. And then when I leave, they're walking around me, and they're like jumping around me like puppies around your ankle going, oh, Miss Tilton, that was my name at the time. Miss Tilton, can you bring a book about a fish? And Miss Tilton, do you know where they have any books about princesses? And could you bring me a book about magic? And I was just like so touched by how much it meant to those kids. And I'm like, I have a cold, I have to go now. I have a cold. And it's like, I'm crying, I'm dying and crying. So I get in my car and I go home, and I think that's kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. But then I know, no, man, I gotta get some more books to these kids. And I worked at a casino. I was the entertainment director at a casino, There's 800 employees at the casino, so I figure I'll just put a note by the time cards, and then everybody can bring in a book or so. I'm going to have a bunch of books. And what I found out was, even though there's 800 employees at the casino, I don't have 800 friends. I got 0 books, not even one. So I wrote a letter to the local newspaper, and I said, I'm collecting books for Warren Lane Elementary, K through 6. They don't have a library. If anybody would call me, here's my number, I'll pick them up. And that began several months of me gathering books for this school. Every 3 or 4 weeks I'd go over with more books, as many as could fit in my trunk, and then I'm ready to get more. And people were so nice about donating books. I got brand new books from Mattel, and that was really cool. They heard about it. And then towards the end of the school year, elementary schools in my area and all areas, they get rid of books. So they have out-of-date textbooks, and they have library books that they're getting rid of too. And so at first I was counting how many I was bringing over. It's like, hey, we got 37. Hey, we have 110. It's like, pretty soon it's like, no way I could count. Hundreds and hundreds of books are coming over their way. And where are the books going? You wonder? The books are going into a Quonset hut, which, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like just like a metal box. And every time I'm just bringing them into the metal box, bringing them into the metal box, and it's getting fuller and fuller, and they're very grateful. I was recognized by the PTA. I was honored at Inglewood Unified School District. I got a great certificate. All things are good. Now I'm coming to the end of the year, and I say, well, when are we done with this where we can make the books into a library? And they said to me, the principal says to me, whenever you're done. I go, well, why don't we get some shelves started? Well, we don't have shelves. I go, well, maybe if you went to like Home Depot or something, they'll give you some boards. I'm sure they'll give you some shelves. Well, could you do that for us? Well, I don't know. Well, we don't know how to catalog, and we need a Dewey Decimal System. Well, I don't know how to catalog them. I couldn't figure it out, and I graduated from college, and I couldn't figure out the Dewey Decimal System. Don't look over here. So I said, why don't we just put the, first grade books on a shelf and a stuffed animal, because we won't have a lot, and then we'll put like the second grade books on a shelf and a stuffed animal, and we'll make it really cute all around the room. And just do it by grades. And they go, well, are you going to help us get the shelves and organize it? And I'm like, I don't know. And then school was out. Then it was June. School was over. Everything changed in my life then, and it was a really happy time for me to do all that. But then things changed. My job ended at the casino. Not my fault, by the way. My job ended at the casino. My marriage ended. My kids went on to college and whatnot. Underlining whatnot. But anyway, so now I'm remarried. I'm remarried. I have a different name, a different address, a different phone number. And I tell my husband about my putting together the library. And he said, well, what happened to it? And how great. And I said, I don't know what happened to it, because I was always afraid to call over there, because if it didn't work, it was going to be really terrible for me and very sad. And so he said, call over there. And so I called over there and I said, may I speak to Clarissa Patterson, the principal? And the lady puts me on hold and then says, she doesn't work here anymore. I'm like, oh. And then I said, can I speak to Mr. Johnston, the 5th grade teacher? Puts me on hold. He doesn't work here anymore. I'm like, oh. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just picturing all those books in the Quonset hut, and I'm picturing Heidi with a rat sitting on it, just chewing away at the cover, and all the stack of Berenstain Bear books, and how they're just going to be dusty and disintegrated after 5 years. and that all that I did and all that made me happy during that time was going to be for naught. And I don't know whether to hang up or not, or just hang in there and talk to somebody, but I don't know what to say. So the lady comes back on the phone at the, at the Warren Lane School, and I said, "Can I talk to the new principal?" Puts me on hold. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I remember the PTA breakfast, and we had waffles and fried chicken, and how great it was, even at 7:30 in the morning. And where do they find fried chicken at 7:30 in the morning? And I thought about how I was honored at the district meeting, and all of these things were going to be for naught, and I was just so afraid. And then lady gets back on the phone, and I said, "Do you know me? I'm Mariana Tilton. I used to bring books all the time." She says, "No." And she says, "Is this about books?" And I said, "Yes." And she says, "Let me put you through to the librarian. The library is still open." Thank you.